Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
$11:04 on the Lock Shop on a Monday. Dusty with you. Hustle be by shortly. Zach to come manning things over on the in the corner, hiding in the corner over there. We got the oil stream coming up at noon today as well. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Thank you very much for being here. Tell your friends about EST, how easy it is. I know some people are still, we were at the tailgate yesterday, and some people being like, Dusty, how's the podcast? I said, well, you still don't get it, but that's okay. So I show patience. I explain that we're streaming live on TuneIn and iHeart, right where all the other radio stations are streaming online. And then as I walk away, I curse people. Can't figure it out just yet, but that's okay. That's okay. Huge news for us on Friday. The guys just discussed it on the Lock Shop as well. But Reed Wilkins leaving Ched to join Edmonton Sports Talk 3 to 6 every single day right here on EST starting in September. So that was huge news, just in case you missed it. We'll discuss a little bit on the oil stream a little bit later on today, but it's good having Reed on the morning show today. Good having him on the hangout, and you can be ready for him and glue guy Jane Milne every single weekday afternoon starting in September. We got a crazy, interesting, I don't want to say crazy, I'll say interesting week in the Canadian Football League to discuss. I was just watching judo at the Olympics. Have no idea what's going on with that sport. None. Zach, what do you do? Jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I do jiu-jitsu.
So I don't think that mic's plugged in. I think we're still plugged in from the oil. We can get it. Anyway, this just in. Zach does jiu-jitsu. And I'm not even sure he understands judo. But anyway, we got a gold medal in it, so that was pretty cool. Watched the Canadian women's basketball game as well. That was a tough one. They turned the ball over like 26 times. Not good. All right, let's bring in Hudson. Hey, by the way, Stingers, Sea Bears tonight here at Edmonton. EST WST rivalry game, and I'm taking the Nielson family down to this one. It should be a pretty good time. Huss, what's up, buddy?
Well, just recovering from quite a sports weekend. I got to tell you, we dove in head first to the Olympic Games right out of the gate. Like Friday. Well, okay, I don't want to take this anywhere that might get us in trouble, but
okay,
the opening ceremonies were memorable. Like, honest to God, like, aside from some things that may have turned some people off, the actual, I think that was the biggest spectacle in the history of the world. Like, there's never been anything like that. I mean, it was a show across all of Paris, bringing the athletes in on the boats. The lighting of the Olympic torch being pulled up,
pretty
hanging
cool
above the sky in a hot air balloon while that crazy laser show happened at the Eiffel Tower. I've never seen anything like it. It was like that. That was really, really cool. And then, I mean, Celine closing the show, singing from the Eiffel Tower. Are you kidding me? It was it was wild. I watched a lot of that on the replay on Saturday night. As I comfortably watched the Red Blacks roll the Calgary Stampeders.
Holy smokes.
I will say this right off the bat on the CFL before we get to the soccer. I've never felt more wronged on a Monday Lock Shop about, like, I can stand here and look at all of you in the Lock Shop in the camera and say, I should have been 4-0 this week. Like, the Saskatchewan loss, I know we talked about it on Friday. I'm still not over that. And then the Bomber Argo game was, the Bombers legitimately should have won that game by probably 24, 25 points.
Oh, man.
The Argos did absolutely nothing. I mean, listen, their defense did step up. They had 5 sacks and 5 takeaways. But the way the Bombers moved the football all game long, and listen, I mean, this is the core of these Grey Cup teams that were making the mistakes. Nick Dembski fumbles, Brady Oliveira fumbles, Drew Wolodarski fumbles, and then we can get into the pick six that was not overturned on review that certainly people around here feel that they sort of got wronged. And then Sergio Castillo, who's been so money all year long, craps the bed at the most inopportune time. Like, you play that game 100 times with the way the offenses move the football, and the Bombers win 97, 98 out of 100 times. I still can't believe that. So it was nice to see the hammer come in. Listen, I thought that game would be close. We were getting 3.5 points. I did not see them running away. And I mean, you were doing the game last night. That I must just feel sort of same old now. I mean, unfortunately for Elks fans.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I just feel bad for the fans who are still going.
oh,
You know what I mean? Like, they've rolled it out there. 0-9 last year. You have this quarterback that comes in and gives you a sign of life last year. In a normal situation, he would have saved his coaches' jobs, but they weren't going to get fired anyway because I think financially they didn't want to have to pay him that much. And then this year they refused to go back to him. I don't know how you don't put him in at halftime. Like, I thought it was an automatic that he was going to come in at halftime. MBT went like 3 of his last 12 with an interception in the second quarter of that football game, and they're down by 13. I'm like, okay, well, now's the time. If you're ever going to go to him, you're 0-6, and you're down to a 1-win team. And then Jarius Jackson comes out, tells Gazzola at halftime that we're sticking with MBT. They followed up by putting up minus 5 yards in the third quarter. And then eventually they go to Tre Ford, and I get it, garbage time and everything. But 3 passing touchdowns and 120 yards in 10 minutes of work, it's nothing to sniff at or shake your head at if you're the Elks moving forward, Huss. It was, he even made a couple of remarkable plays that you saw last year. Like, this guy's ridiculous. He's extremely elusive. MBT all pouty on the sideline, not being happy with what happened. I cannot wait till he speaks this week. That'll be interesting. We had Dave Naylor on today, and Naylor goes, MBT's not an easy guy to bench. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if he's easy to bench or not because he won't be happy with it. Bottom line is, you're 0-7 now, dude. Like, you just – and the weird thing is that we're sitting here this morning on our show going, I can't wait to hear CFL 110 this week with you in Hamilton. It'll be great. We're sitting on our show this morning, and people are asking us, like, what's the percentage you think that they don't start him? And the answer should be 0. But we're still sitting here going, I could still see like a 20 to 30% thing that they go back to MBT for some reason. And that would be ridiculous.
Everyone's
ridiculous.
all, I was texting Jhonattan last night. I could just tell by what he said. Everyone's all geeked about Tre Ford balling out in garbage time last night. They were down 33. I don't know. Personally, I don't take too much from what happened in the fourth quarter once they were up 33, but it's just an absolute mess. Although the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who've been the standard in the CFL for the last 4 years, are only 2 games ahead of them.
They're within striking distance, and they still play. It's funny because to make the decision on who starts, and you're right, I mean, it would have been different if it was a tight game and he did what he did for Tre Ford. But the bottom line is MBT's 0-7, hasn't thrown a touchdown in his last 6 quarters. You're not pulling him because Tre Ford's great. You're pulling him because MBT has sucked for 2 weeks, and he hasn't won a game yet this season. That's why he shouldn't be your starter. Any other quarterback would already be out of the bench. So it's time. It's time. Like, even on the broadcast last night, Suits was like, I don't really want to say it. I don't know if you're watching it. I was like, I'll say it. Here's the reason this guy shouldn't be back in this football game. Like, it's just, we're not making things up. This isn't like a narrative we're trying to push. They're 0-7, and their quarterback has done nothing but bitch about short weeks and not throw a touchdown pass for the last six quarters. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know why they brought him in the first place. So tough pill to swallow.
Well, they thought they needed some veteran quarterbacking that would help them win games. They got veteran quarterbacking. They haven't won any games. So cost Chris Jones his job amongst many other transgressions at the helm of the Edmonton Elks. And they're done. Like our show today, talking about the Bombers. I mean, people are going to be.
Cool. So what is it, Huss? Like is like? Did the core just age out in one off season, or what? What's going on here? Outside of Lawler and Schoen, obviously. Like I get that.
Listen, I mean, this is why it's so crazy to talk about them losing that football game. The defense was phenomenal. I mean, I tweeted out and texted you. I'm still looking forward to finding out.
I'm trying to get Steve's number for you here. I'm trying to get it right now.
The last time a team in the Canadian Football League gave up 6 points and lost. And here's another one for Steve. When was the last time the East went 4-0 against the West in a week?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. I kind of had that as a bit of a storyline heading into yesterday because it was 3-0. I was like, man, I can't remember the last time the East completely swept the West.
It's got to have been a while, like a full 4-0 sweep by the East over the West. But listen, I mean, they just absolutely killed themselves. Like, I don't think you can. I mean, it's not age. Maybe it's just. I mean, it could be some element of preparation or lack thereof. Like how normally reliable guys make plays and then just can't hang on to the football.
Yeah.
But I mean, they moved the football really well. They played incredible defense. They just made some unbelievably ill-timed mistakes that blew up in their face over and over and over again and kept the Argos, who did absolutely nothing offensively, in that football game. So the thing is, like, they now have the short week, and they've got the BC Lions coming off the bye into Winnipeg on Thursday night.
Ooh.
Staring
that doesn't trend well.
Staring 2-7 in the face. So, I mean, at this point, they need to find a way to win a few games and hang around and find a way into the playoffs. Because here's the thing, Dusty. Like, when you look at, I mean, this performance on the weekend, and really this team overall, like, they've lost 2 games in overtime. They had the ball on the goal line against Ottawa late. And this team could easily be 5-3 or even 6-2, but they're not.
I mean, at minimum 500. Like, they should be right there.
Exactly. And so here's the thing. If they can get it together and start looking more like themselves, I mean, just with the execution, everything else is there in the second half, and make the playoffs, they're going to be a team that scares the hell out of anyone that they're playing come the postseason. But they got to get there. I mean, it is far, and like Ottawa did them a big, big favor. Because I think with the records now, I think we can sort of assume that BC and Saskatchewan are going to be there. The Riders aren't losing 7 in a row again to end the season. So those teams are going to be there. To me, it's Winnipeg and Calgary for that third and final playoff spot. And they finished their season series. The one thing in the Bombers' favor is, remember they went for 2.
They did get that tiebreaker.
They do have the season series. So, again, they're 1 win behind them, but I think they've got 2 more losses already. So we'll see, because it is getting to be crunch time. And as we get closer to Labor Day, the Bombers have we talked about the schedule right in the middle of the season, the Toronto and back-to-back against BC coming out of the Saskatchewan game before they go to Saskatchewan on Labor Day and then the Banjo Bowl. So it was stunning. But as I say, I felt like I was on the right side of every game and somehow ended up at 2-2. That's just sometimes what happens
story of the
in
season.
The cruel world of sports betting at times.
Okay, speaking of betting, let's play a little round of Guess the Line. Then we'll talk about Nathan Rourke. BC Winnipeg. We have 4 games again this week. BC Winnipeg are the Thursday game. I'm going to be in Winnipeg for that one. Montreal Hamilton on the Friday. Then I'm going to Regina for the Elks and the Riders on the Saturday, and then Toronto and Calgary 4-3 versus 3-4. That's a huge game for 2 teams kind of in the middle of the pack right now. BC coming off a bye. Winnipeg on the short week. BC at 5-2. Winnipeg at 2-6. What's this line look like, buddy?
BC -2.
Oh, -2. I was going to put it up to 3. So BC inside a field goal, hey?
Yeah,
I mean, you
think
do
they'll
make
be
a good point. Like, the
slight
Bombers
favorite.
haven't been playing atrociously.
No, and I mean, BC just lost to Calgary. I mean, like I think, when these teams played earlier this year, it was a 2-point win. Asterisk, though. I mean, it really, they had the ball on the 1 yard line. If they wanted to take it in, they could have. But the Bombers hung around. Every game the Bombers have played has been tight, with the exception of the opener this year. So I think BC will be a slight favorite. And I kind of think it'll sort of be like BC -120, -125 on the money line. And the Bombers like +105, something in and around there, +107, something like that.
All right. Montreal, 6-1 against Hamilton, who's won 2 in a row. In the hammer. In the hammer.
Montreal. Oh, it is. I guess it's probably not going to be Cody.
I don't think Cody will be back for that one.
Yeah, he's been on the 6 game.
Yeah.
So assuming it's not Cody and it's Caleb Evans. Actually, will it be Davis Alexander?
It'll be Davis Alexander for sure.
I'll go Montreal -3.5.
I was writing down my suggestion right on the right as you said it. As you said 3.5, like my pen made the 3.5. I agree with you on that. Now, it's tough. Hamilton looked really good against Toronto, then let Toronto sort of sneak back at the end. They rolled over Edmonton. Edmonton scored some touchdowns at the end. But the Ticats, Bo Levi Mitchell, could you believe that yesterday? That was the first time in his career he had a 5 passing touchdown game. My stats guy, Johnny's sitting there. He goes, this is Bo Levi's first 5 TD game. I looked at him. I said, no, it's not. Like, guy's going to the Hall of Fame. He's 2-time MOP, bunch of Grey Cups. He goes, nope. He goes, it's his first 5 touchdown game. I couldn't believe it. And I guess he only had 4 touchdown games. So, I mean, their offense is going. Butler is such a weapon. My God, James Butler is a perfect CFL running back. Big enough body to crash and bang up the middle. You can get him involved out in the passing game. Came into that last game with like a 250 split through the air and on the ground. Really was what they had going early in that game until Bo Levi started to pick apart Edmonton. Any belief in Hamilton winning 2 in a row here, Huss? Is this a turning point for the Ticats? Like, get themselves back in here?
Well, I mean, I just think back to our conversations in the first couple weeks of the season. I mean, Bo actually was playing good. The receivers couldn't catch. I mean, they fumbled that game, basically handed it over to the Riders, blowing the 10-point lead. First week against Calgary, Tim White and the rest of those guys just literally weren't catching anything. So now that things are rolling, like, I think Hamilton's actually a little bit better than their record right now. Problem for Hamilton is, and who knows, maybe Hamilton's going to start thinking about a crossover because you've got Toronto, you've got Ottawa, and you've got Montreal all on the right side of 500 right now. So, you start off 0-6, you got a long, long way to catch up right now. So, but anyways, I think Hamilton has sort of turned the corner. They looked a lot better yesterday. Bo's slinging it right now. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be much more, if they do go Davis Alexander, it's a lot different making your first start than getting thrown in with all the energy and adrenaline of your shot. Now, he couldn't have been any better. I mean, he went 12 for 12 and took them from down 13 to up 1 and then put another field goal on the board. But I do think this will be, put it this way, if this comes out at 3.5, I'll think long and hard about backing the Ticats at home. I'm thinking that we might have another close game.
Pete Greggy over in the Nasty Chat says CFL odds are live at Coolbet. Take a peek after your guesses. So
yes.
Have you seen these yet? I haven't seen these yet. So
no.
We're not okay.
No.
All right, we're not cheating. Let's continue. Let's continue with this. 0-7 Edmonton going in to the Riders at 5-2 with an outstanding defense and a mosaic that's going to be absolutely rocking on Saturday at 5 p.m. That's going to be a good crowd, I think. What's that line come out at?
Wow. And again, we'll assume that Shea Paterson's still the guy, although I think Trevor Harris is getting pretty close to coming back. But assuming that it's Shea, I will go Riders minus 7.5.
Okay, I got it at 6.5. I put it at 6.5.
Okay.
All right, and then the final. Well, I'm excited to take a look at these odds now. Toronto, Calgary. This has got to be inside 3, doesn't it? This has got to be a close one.
In Calgary?
Yeah, in Calgary. They're 3-0 at home.
They are 3-0 at home. Toronto look bad. I'll go Calgary -1.
Yeah, I think that's going to be close to a pick 'em. Okay, let's get to the big reveal here. CFL lines for Week 9. All right, BC Lions -3.5. Would you have them at 2? I had them at 3. It ends up being 3.5. Montreal Alouettes -3.5. We nailed that one. We were both on the 3.5 there. The Riders, I had them at 6.5. You had them at 7.5. The Riders 5.5 favorites at home. And then the Stampeders, we said -1. It's -1.5. So we're really close on 3 of them. Well, not bad. We're 2 points off on that Riders Elks game. Huh.
So, I mean, based on that, I think there is maybe a little bit of value on the Bombers at +3.5. Although, after everything that I just said about them finding ways to kill themselves, probably not a people rushing to the book to throw down on Winnipeg right now at home. As I mentioned, I'm going to think about Hamilton at +3.5. That is kind of like my lean, even with knowing that we nailed the line. And listen, I was thinking 7.5, 5.5. I'll be taking Saskatchewan on that. I think I'll be taking it early because I like there's no one's just jumping to, oh my God, we got to get the Elks at +5.5 right now. I mean, even if Tre Ford gets the start next week, and you're right. I mean, Saskatchewan, that defense has been playing so well. The Edmonton defense is non-existent. I think it's going to be a long night for the Elks. And then that Toronto-Calgary game. Calgary's just such a different team at McMahon as opposed to where they are everywhere else.
They look awesome at McMahon. They look great at McMahon.
Got embarrassed on Friday night. I mean, Bobby Dice's Red Blacks rolled all over them. Maybe I'll come back to Calgary this week after being on the right side of them last week. But there you go. 3.5 for BC, 3.5 for Montreal, 3.5 for the Riders, 1.5 for Calgary, and the odds are live right now at Coolbet.com.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999 is where you can chime in over on the Nasty Chat as well. A few people saying they really like my haircut today, Huss. What do you think of the haircut? Looks
Nicely
pretty
done.
nice.
I got a cut too.
I was wondering if you got a cut
side.
too. Like, yeah.
Yep.
What'd you go in? You get a 3 on the side? What do you go 2 on the side? What do you do on the side?
No, he said this time he did a 1.5.
Oh wow.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Sometimes I usually
tight.
get the 2, but I figured I'm going on a fishing trip, so it'll better to get it a little shorter. So
that makes sense. Yeah, I feel good about it.
When did you get your cut?
Where?
When?
Oh, I got it yesterday. Yesterday about 11 o'clock. Actually, I'm 24 hours into this right now. I'm exactly 24 hours into this haircut.
Yeah, because you had a lot of hair earlier in the week last week for your standards.
It had grown out quite a bit. Yeah, it was time. It was time yesterday. I rolled in to the place where I go. Nobody was like in line. Slid right in. Super chatty guy. Talked a lot about sports and the Olympics and stuff. Said he cut the hair of one of the Elks coaches the day before. We didn't have much to say about that. I was like, oh, they're in a tough spot. Yeah, it seemed like it, like that type of thing. But yeah, no, it was. Thanks everybody. Feeling pretty good about it right now. Very high confidence level on the hair today. It's nice. It's real nice. What do you think happens with Nathan Rourke here, Huss? He's on waivers. Do you think there's any chance? It's tough right now. Like teams are so early into the camp. They got their 3 guys. They got another guy that they might like. What do you think happens with this guy?
Unless there is a team out there that really believes in him and, thinks that he can be in the mix. Like, I think it probably would be a good sign if he got picked up right now. Unless there's a team that's just kind of has a guy that's nicked for a couple weeks and they need to have a guy in camp. Like he's in a tough spot. The fact that he didn't get to free agency and that the Giants claimed him after the Patriots claimed him has just put him in this no man's land right now. But I mean, we had Naylor on at the end of last week, just leaving Giants camp, and like he didn't even touch the ball. He was just on the sidelines, kind of doing mental reps. Apparently, they're called. That's what happens when you just think about making the decisions and doing that. So, like, he's not coming back to the Canadian Football League anytime soon. I doubt it'll be this year. Like, I doubt
it would be this year too. We had Naylor on this morning. He kind of was like, it could be a trickle-down effect around the league, but I don't see it. I think he probably tries to wait to see if he can get picked up somewhere else, and then maybe he's back next year.
Exactly. I think he goes through this. If he doesn't find a spot that he sees a path to actually playing, or at least being, in the mix for playing time where he can earn it, I think if he goes through this again for an entire season, I think at that point he realizes, I'm going to be 27 next year. I got to play. I want to play. And, someone will throw down 650 or 700 grand to get him in to be their quarterback. Hell, the way things are going around here, it might be, it might be the Bombers. And I mean, let's not forget the Bombers are hosting the Grey Cup next year. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of their contracts were sort of signed trying to keep this group together to be competitive and win the Grey Cup at home. I don't know what the details of Caleros' contract as to what he got up front, what's guaranteed, but I mean, we all know these CFL contracts, are far from ironclad. I do wonder if this season becomes a lost season, Wade Miller would be aggressive. And I mean, business-wise, the Bombers are still booming. Like, they've still been having great crowds.
30,000.
All of that. I mean, season tickets are in a great spot right now. So they would be one of the teams that would actually be able to, especially if you're moving off a guy that's the highest paid player in the league, to potentially make that work. Now, I mean, I think from everything that I've heard, and particularly talking to Naylor, I think he really loves BC. He loved being there. He's got family there. He had a great relationship with the organization.
That's where he wants to be.
The crazy thing is, though, I mean, you've got VA that is playing at a MOP level right now with a contract. Do they move off VA? I mean, I guess Rourke was their guy ahead of VA before. So, I mean, you could say that.
Well, I had something texted to me yesterday from somebody around the league that was just like predicting what could possibly happen next year if Rourke does return. So let me run this thought process by, and this is Edmonton based, not somebody from Edmonton, but it's revolving around the Elks. So Nathan Rourke goes back to BC. VA, who's probably coming off an MOP season. And it goes like this. Ed Hervey comes back with new ownership, becomes GM of the Edmonton Elks. He brings back a guy that I think he once hired back here firstly in Edmonton, who's the OC of the BC Lions, and Jordan Maximic. Makes him the head coach of the Edmonton Elks. Maximic's got a great relationship with VA. VA comes with Maximic to Edmonton. So Edmonton rolls out Ed Hervey, Jordan Maximic, Vernon Adams, and Nathan Rourke goes to BC to be with Rick Campbell and back with the BC Lions. That was texting me yesterday. I was like, that's interesting. Like, I don't see a world technically where the Elks land Vernon Adams coming off of the season that he just is having right now. But if Nathan Rourke comes back, man, VA is going to be looking for a job. He's going to want to get paid. And Edmonton's going to be desperate to try to turn the page here right away. So I thought that was an interesting theory yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's certainly an opening in Edmonton. I will say that there's no one that is, it's kind of funny. We're talking about the potential of the Bombers moving off Zach Caleros, who's had, 2 MOPs, 2 Grey Cups, 4 Western titles. That would be a lot harder than the Elks moving off from the combination of MVP and Tre Ford and the 0 in the win column. I guess the question is, can they pay him? But I mean, a new owner coming in is going to realize the urgency of the situation And you don't win in the CFL if you don't have quarterbacking. So there's something to be said for that. Like put it this way, if VA and Rourke are both in the West next year on different teams, like regardless of what teams they are, those ones will be must-see TV. Frankly, all the games have been though right now. It's been a pretty wild season in the old CFL. But Rourke, I think he'll kick around looking for another opportunity. I don't think he's going to want to spend a ton of time on the practice roster, but he might have to. But I think he exhausts his opportunities this season. And I would think that if he doesn't get into a spot where there is at least a path to playing time or, being on the roster, backing up, then at some point he's got to come back and play some football. And he'll be the highest paid guy. He can do it for a long time, make a lot of money. Be great for the CFL.
It'd be fun to watch. There's no doubt about that. We'll get to an MLB parlay coming up. Huss, you did say you were pretty heavily in. Oh, go ahead.
Well, yeah, we have to talk about the soccer game yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I was going to get to Olympics. I wanted to go Olympics next year. Go ahead. Yeah.
Maybe the gutsiest performance I've ever seen by any team in any sport, period.
I'll be fully transparent. I did not have a chance to watch it. I was getting to the game. I was prepping for the game. So I know my producer, Eddie the Gambler, came over. He goes, man, you should have seen this soccer game. This was insane.
So let's rewind. Everyone's familiar. Bev Priestman, or Bevlicek, as I like to call her, decided that they were going to bring a drone operator to the Olympics. He gets caught and arrested right off the bat, trying to spy on the New Zealand team's practice. New Zealand, which is like the lowest ranked team in the entire tournament, puts Canada soccer, the Canada Olympic team, under a huge spotlight, brings great stain and disrepute to our country. She says, well, we're sorry. Those people are going home, and I will be the bigger person, and I won't coach for the first game against New Zealand. Well, listen, that wasn't good enough. She ends up getting sent home. Then there's the suspension. FIFA comes in, and FIFA throws a 1-year ban on her and the two other individuals and docks Canada 6 points, which was essentially a death sentence for Canada, because while they had beaten New Zealand, they were a massive underdog against the French. They were plus 500, and that was before everything had happened. I have a feeling it might have even been higher. I didn't see what it was right before game time. But you have these women that have trained for so much time to come and defend their Olympic gold medals, and all of a sudden they're told that 6 points are being taken off the table, which basically makes it almost impossible to qualify and move forward unless you run the table and win every single game. So they went into France yesterday, the enemies, the villains, against a top-ranked French team as a massive underdog. Were down 1-0 at halftime, realizing that it wasn't just, in a lot of these cases, normally, if they got a draw, they would be fine. They had to win this game. They tied it up, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so into the second half. And man, the energy that these women showed, they were pushing. It was, when you talk about playing with a sense of urgency, or a team needs to go out and play desperate, acknowledging the moment. That was what they did. They were playing as if it was the semifinal or the finals of the tournament in game 2 against the hosts. And it went to, the French took a crazy amount of time on the pitch. So when it got to the end of 90 minutes, there was 13 minutes of extra time added. And the Canadian goalkeeper made a crazy save with about 10 and a half minutes into it, keeping it alive. Janine Becky, who, of course, was out for the World Cup because she was injured, she came back on as a sub, raced. She tracked down a French player from her own end, was probably a good 6 meters behind this person, came all the way back, made the play, passed it, got it again, shot it up to Adriana Leon, And then all of a sudden, holy smokes, there's like 12:30 gone of 13 minutes of stoppage time. She gets it over. Hoytema kicks it, makes a save, and then the goal. Honest to God, just watching it, I was in a bar with no sound, but you could just feel it. You could feel it from the television, watching just what was at stake and what was on the line. And they got it done. And there's that picture of Vanessa scoring just down like this, and Julia Grosso's doing like the Jesus pose afterwards, like just cannot believe that what they just did. These women have been treated like they have been done so dirty by the people that are hired and employed to bring out the best in them. And their Olympic dreams were pretty much thought to have been shattered by terrible decisions by people that, as I said, their job is to help them win. And for them to come back the way they did with everything going against them was just, I will never forget it. I will never forget that game. Speaking with the women afterwards, they said it was the most emotional game that any of them had ever played. And I mean, these women, much of them have won a gold medal in the Olympic Games. I mean, there's a number of players that have 2 or 3 medals on that squad. So for them to do it, and if you saw the interview afterwards with Vanessa Gilles, it really spoke to just where their heads were at. It was, as I said, it's one of the gutsiest sporting performances I have ever seen. And the crazy thing about it is now Canada is appealing. So I guess there's a chance that maybe they reduce the penalty from 6 to 3 or something like that. But these women are going to be playing against Colombia, and with a win, they will do what was thought to be impossible when that penalty was handed down. And that is stay alive and qualify. And I'll tell you what, if they can run the table, France was the huge favorite to win this group. If they're able to do that, and regardless of whether they finish second because of the penalty, get through, I think the belief that they've built in doing what they did yesterday, presumably needing to finish the job against Colombia, was something we look back as one of the most inspiring stories. Because as I said, I know a lot of people taking shots at Canada soccer, and I get it. I have a hard time thinking that drone footage of a soccer practice is going to completely overlook. And then we have some of these like Sharmina Med saying that this is worse than the Ben Johnson scandal. I mean, there's a lot of pearl clutching and ridiculous takes from some of the Canadian media. But the bottom line is the women of our national team have been done a great disservice, and they have banded together with like I don't even know what the story with the coach is. I mean, it's one of the assistants that's sort of taken over and doing his thing, but it kind of feels like it's just them against the world. So I was just on a high all day after that game yesterday. I still can't believe that they did it. We got Shanetti coming on Winnipeg Sports Talk today.
Oh, perfect.
He at the Bomber Argo game, but I have a feeling we'll speak about it more. But was also doing a little digging. Big J Huss on the weekend with some, being a World Cup guy, got a few soccer contacts. Like, I think there's going to be much more coming out after this of the John Herdman / Bev Priestman run. That is going to be, it's going to be ugly for them for sure. And as I say, thank God for Jesse Marsh that we have this guy leading our men's program who reportedly
turned it down.
Was offered, hey, what we've done before for John and stuff in the past. He's like, that's not part of my coaching philosophy. We don't do that. And thank God, because it was such a great start for Copa. For our national team under him in such a short period of time. If all of a sudden that was stained, I'm like, well, the reason why they did so well is they were doing all these BS tactics that the women have been doing for a while. Well, the players deserve so much better. They've earned this opportunity. I can't believe we're talking about a game on Wednesday that could mean them advancing. But that's exactly where we are right now. We should actually check out the line right now on that game. What do we have here? Canada, Colombia. Canada minus 102 favorite.
Ooh.
Draw plus 275. Colombia plus 260. I will be responsibly hammering Canada in that game. Just telling you right now.
Stay cool, bet responsibly, hammer the Canadian women in their next game. I checked out the Canadian men's basketball team. I watched the American men's basketball team. I watched, as I was doing some prep for this show today, the Canadian women's basketball team. Disappointing effort. They got absolutely rolled over earlier on today as well. I watched some judo this morning. Do you understand judo at all, Huss? You have any idea what's happening? Yeah, me neither. None. I watched it. It was on.
You got to do throws, I think. But I couldn't tell you how. All I know is that we're the best at it. We got a gold medal. So.
It worked out well today. So that was nice to see. Some
judo country.
Summer McIntosh going down today. It looks like she's gonna. She's a heavy.
Yeah,
heavy
minus 2,500.
Like heavy favorite. So Summer McIntosh about to get her first Olympic gold medal. Already has one at these games as well. Anything else on the Olympic front?
Well, Simone Biles was amazing last night. She's like, you just can't take your eyes off the television when she's up there. I was just actually checking out, thinking about maybe putting together a little bit of a parlay from the upcoming soccer match tomorrow. I mean, there's some pretty nice numbers on some favorites here. Like Spain's minus 172 against Egypt. That seems very fair. I don't know enough. Uzbekistan minus 156 against the Dominican Republic. Like, I don't think Dominican has much of a team. And then we've got Argentina minus 154 against Ukraine. I mean, there's always the chance of a draw popping in here. But again, we're still in the first couple matches of the tournament. But if we went in and put in Uzbekistan with Spain and Argentina, we get it up to plus 328.
On all three to win.
All three to win on the three-way. As they say, I feel pretty good about Spain. Minus 172. Argentina, you would think that they'd be able to go in and beat the Ukrainians with the talent that they have. And then Uzbekistan, it's almost a fate of the Dominican Republic, but at minus 156, they're telling you that in all likelihood. Now, again, it's soccer. There are upsets. But at this point in the tourney, I think, we could put in Morocco. If we put in Morocco instead of Uzbekistan, Morocco's going up against Iraq. It gets to plus 276. I guess if we put that in, that's probably boosted to 3-1.
Yeah, you could probably get that on the boost. Yep.
You know what? And the good thing is, because it's all for tomorrow morning. Like, these matches go at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. So you know what? I'm putting together soccer guy Huss, ride with Huss, Spain, Morocco, and Argentina. A little chalky, but as I say, at this point in the tourney, I think that'll do well. And then the next day, we do have New Zealand and France. France is minus 417. We won't bother with that one. USA tomorrow taking on Guinea. And again, this is under 23 with a few players. And then Japan taking on Israel, Paraguay. No, I think I'm going to stick with that. So plus 276. We'll send it over to the guys. Maybe we can get a combo card up there on that, or at least in the Coolbet exclusives for the lock shop. Hey, by the way, just now as we get in for a couple quick baseball picks, the Jays, sell mode. Bunch of guys. Okay, I don't know if you heard this. You know how Danny Jansen got traded to the Red Sox?
No.
Yeah. So Danny Jansen
got traded. Well, I know he got traded. I thought you meant there was like some sort of weird way he got traded to the Red Sox.
Well, no, there's a weird thing coming up.
Okay.
So there was a suspended game earlier this year between the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. And they go back to the rosters that were in the game at that point.
No.
So there is a chance he could play for both teams in the same game when the Sox and
serious?
Jays resume the game on August 26th. Just said that. New Red Sox catcher could play for both teams in same game. That'll be funky because I guess he's already in the game for the Blue Jays.
Well, would they not just leave him in the game for the Blue Jays for that one game?
Well, I don't know whether he would just automatically be taken out and then would be available for the Red Sox. So he could actually be on the game sheet on both on both the home and the visitors.
That's wild. That's crazy. Speaking of baseball, I don't know if you saw this. Big Maple just tweeted this in for somebody who was betting on Twitter. Slides into Brent Rooker, who plays for the A's. This guy slides into Brent Rooker's Instagram and says, "You killed me yesterday. I was one leg away from 21,000 and you could only hit singles." And then Rooker replied and said, "My brother, I could not even begin to express how much I do not care." Just right back at this guy, which I absolutely love. I like the Braves today. I like the Braves plus 100 on the road against Milwaukee, going up against Colin Ray, who they smashed last time they faced them. Braves have won 4 in a row against the Brewers. They were on a bit of a losing streak. They've won 2 in a row to wrap up their most recent series, which was against the Mets. Prior to that, they lost 2 to St. Louis, 2 to Cincy, 2 to the Mets, and then salvaged that series with 4-0 and 9-2 wins. So I like Atlanta for a little MLB parlay today at plus 100 against the Milwaukee Brewers. What's jumping off the page for you, Huss?
Let's see. By the way, I got to shout out Big Maple. Big Maple with the big underdog with the Coolbet free bet in the in one of the co-main events. He had Edwards losing. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but I guess he trained with Habib. Anyways, that was a killer pick by you, Big Maple. Nicely done. Way to bounce back after a tough UFC card the week before. I will look forward to using my free bet shortly. Let's see. We have the Royals. There's a big favorite. Oh, we got Skeens.
Oh, your boy.
We got Skeens pitching. Oh, I mean, how do we not? Let's see.
What's the number?
I was just pulling it up. Paul Skeens and minus 133 at Houston. Your pitching matchup is Paul Skeens 6-1 with a 193 against Bloss, who's 0-1 with a 694. I can't go against the Skeens show. I guess the other option is to just bet his strikeout prop, which he seems to hit over every game, plus 120 on over 7.5. Let's see. What about, do we have outs? Pitching outs over 18.5. So he's got to pitch the one batter. He's got to get one out in the 7th inning.
Yeah. Went 9 last time out, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, he's been so good. I mean, listen, let's just take the Pirates to win. Let's do a little Pirates back. But if you do want an extra little sprinkle on this game, maybe that's what I'll use the free bet from the UFC on. Either the pitching outs or the strikeouts are so fun, just watching him waste guys. But we'll do that. Over, I'm adding to tonight's card. The over 18.5 outs. But yeah, so Braves Pirates, we put that together.
Pirates for plus 249 pre-boost. So
excellent.
Yeah, there we go. Pirates, Braves, P. Greggy. If you're watching over there on YouTube, we can fire you a text as well. But Pirates and Braves will be the MLB double play today. What's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk? Us outside of Bombers meltdown here.
Well, that's going to be a large topic today. What is up with the Blue Bombers? How do they keep shooting themselves in the foot? And where they go from here. Jeff Hamilton will jump on. We'll really focus in on the Bombers before we kind of take us around the league for CFL 110 later on this week. Search CFL 110 wherever you get your favorite podcast, folks, and make sure you get that in your inbox. And as I said, Shinetti, I'm going to talk mostly, I think, about this Canada soccer story with Shinetti, although I'll still get his thoughts on how the hell the Bombers self-destructed and lost that game on the weekend. And then we'll talk a little more Olympics. We'll kind of dive more into some of the lines for the upcoming week in the CFL because, of course, it's starting right off. Are you here on Thursday?
I am on Thursday, yeah. Yeah, I'll be on Thursday. I got to kind of take it easy, though, because Lieutenant Eric's on vacation at the end of the week. So I'm doing my show from Winnipeg Thursday and Friday morning. So there'll be no late nights for me at the Elephant and Castle, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, geez, that's too bad. Actually, I was going to be away fishing on Friday, too. We'll have to
figure it out.
We'll figure this
it
out then. Perfect. Well, listen, we'll look forward to getting back in it tomorrow, but I'm going to send Patty over my 3-gamer for the men's soccer competition. We'll get the double play up in the exclusives or the combo card. And we're going to hammer some Paul Skeens props tonight while watching the primetime Olympics and getting ready for tomorrow morning.
Perfect time of year. Of course, lots of NFL stuff and fantasy stuff as we work our way into the month of August as well. That's going to do it for the Lock Shop today. We'll be back tomorrow and on the rest of the week right here at 11 o'clock on Edmonton Sports Talk. We got the oil stream coming up right away. Huss's Winnipeg Sports Talk starting in 5 minutes as well. Thank you very much for joining us on the Lock Shop today. Presented to you, of course, by Coolbet. Best of luck with your bets tonight, and we will talk to you tomorrow. See you, buddy.
Later.